let's talk a little bit about Dave Osmond. Dave Osmond is actually, yes, he is related to Donnie and Marie Osmond. He hates it when I start that way, but he is sorry, Dave. He is my colleague here. He does a really good job. He actually maintains all of the reseller relationships that I bring on, and he's a great presenter. So I asked him to come in today and talk about the forecaster for 20 or 30 minutes. So I'm going to go ahead and turn the time over to him. Dave, here we go. I'm going to change you as the presenter.
Okay. Well, everybody, once again, it's great to be with you. I've really enjoyed this version of the Trading Summit. Been very, very helpful and very informative to me. I really enjoy the ability to listen to some excellent traders. And I just have a few minutes. We're not going to take too much time to go over what is really a unique aspect in MetaStock, the forecaster, because we want to try and stay on time. And I know many of you are really excited to hear from Barry here at the top of the hour. So I just want to touch on a couple of things that we've added to MetaStock that I think are pretty exciting and have helped me in my trading and have helped a lot of people who use MetaStock. It's called the forecaster. Now the forecaster is located here in MetaStock. Of course, in MetaStock we have charting, we've got the exploration that Jeff touched on, we've got back testing, and this forecasting mechanism is not something you'll find in any other platform. Let's just start with the symbol here that everybody's familiar with. Let's go with Apple. And let's just go ahead and load it up. This is what it looks like. It'll open up a chart here, some things that look familiar to you, just a 5-year historical bar chart of Apple. And you'll see down below here a couple of very interesting things. We're looking at these different types of technical setups. As I kind of go through them, you'll notice here that these yellow triangles at the top, they change. And what it is showing us right here is that every time we've had, say, a stochastics negative divergence condition on Apple over the last 5 years, it's being pinpointed onto this bar chart. So every time we see one of those, we have this very specific technical setup. Now the whole point of the forecaster is to give us a forward-looking view as to where we would most likely see prices go after a certain technical event. And that is represented in this tab here, what we call forecast cloud. And this is something I'm sure is very different from what you've normally seen in your charting. And it's pretty exciting. This tells you in a very quick way, and I'll explain this in some detail here for the next few minutes so it makes sense to you. But this is showing us into the future where we would expect prices to be at a certain time after something's happened. So for example, in Apple, let's go ahead and just use something like a moving average. You'll notice that there's a lot of these, and then when you click on them, you get a little bit different cloud, or sometimes an incredibly different cloud. Let's take a moving average cross-up situation, and we're looking at well, here's one. This one's a little closer up. I want to use these ones that are a little closer to the top. That means that they are frequent, or they've happened recently. The reason the stochastic negative divergence is at the top of the list is not saying necessarily that it's a better signal, but that it's the most recent occurrence. So let's go ahead and stay with this moving average 50 leap up, because it happened recently, back on the 21st. Now, let's explain what this looks like. What we're looking at right now is a forward projection into 90 days into the future. So instead of reading our chart from right to left like we always do, we're now looking at it from left to right, which is pretty interesting. On the left side here, this axis is the price. So whatever the price is right now is 0%. And we would see it increase or decrease to these numbers. This x-axis below here, this is our time axis, 90 days into the future. Here's a week into the future. And these zones here are telling us very quickly how likely prices will arrive in a certain zone. Let's show you the scale. On the right here, you'll see a scale from cold to hot. Anything in these kind of pinks, reds, oranges up to yellow mean that it has a very high likelihood. When we have a yellow area, we're talking about a better than 95% likelihood that a price will arrive in that range during that period of time. Well, we happen to have a little bit of a yellow marker in here saying that right out of the gate the next few days looks to be bullish to the tune of about 1%. For Apple, based on this moving average 50 leap up. And then it kind of follows a bullish curve over the next 14 days into about 20, 21 days. It has a strong feeling, or it gives you a strong probability based on this technical setup that prices will arrive at about 3 or 4%. And then an interesting thing happens. We go into a lot more of these blue areas. It means that in the past, we've had less frequency of prices going in one direction or the other. They've been kind of all over. But where we have these little pink zones here and a little tiny pocket up here means that in the past, at this point, whether it's 70 days into the future, when we've had this type of a setup, we will see nearly a 12 to 13% increase in price. It has a high likelihood of it. Well, let's go back and find out how we're generating this. Let's go back to this first tab. You'll see once again we see every time in the last 5 years we've had a moving average 50 leap up. And let's just look at the last couple of occurrences of it. In fact, here's one here, April 24th of 2014. So a little while ago we had this happen. And this is a really important component of the forecaster. It gives you a historical record. So if I click on that date, April the 24th, and what I'm going to see here projected over the price bars is the actual forecast cloud that we got on that day. So this cloud right here is static. It's a historical record of what would have been produced if I was looking at the forecaster on April the 24th. Now, this would be pretty valuable because it tells me, hey, has this performed well for me in the recent past or even in distant past? I can go back and see what the projections would have been. So on that day, we would not have seen any of these bars, of course. This all would have been kind of a speculative forward look. But look how closely the bars mirrored what happened here. And some fascinating things happen. You know, as you're looking through, you can see where the bars kind of jumped out of its normal frequency. We found that prices kind of went into a range here that typically are not ever found after an event like this. When that happens, I treat this almost like a support and resistance concept, where if this was the day I was on, you can almost feel it pulling it right back into its normal range. And this is a great example of something where it's stuck right into that range. Now, in MetaStock, you can do a forecast on any instrument that you can chart in the program. So that means you can run this on Forex, you can run this on commodities, futures, whatever you want. As long as you can chart it in MetaStock, which is just about anything, you can sure do it in the forecaster. One more piece I want to show you. The statistical report here will identify these events in a very direct way. It shows here, it'll actually give you a lot of data. This is for our engineers and those of you who want to really dig in and drill into the hard data we've provided. This will spit out and generate all of the actual events, the frequency of these events, the likelihood of it, of course, changing after a certain period of time. There's a lot of information here every time the event has happened on this tab here. And let me see, I'll make sure I'm missing any questions here. I'm going to have, if there's a question, I'm going to have Jeff kind of try and tackle those for me because I can't seem to find the box for those. Hopefully I'm explaining this in a way that makes sense. Let's take a look at another instrument here just to be clear. Let's look at a euro dollar. Okay, and it's nice. It'll keep the other analysis up on this tab here, so we can switch over to the euro dollar right there. And of course, we're going to go ahead and see a whole bunch of different types of yellow markers, and these will all be in a different order by how frequent or how recent these occurrences are. And let's take a look at something completely different, maybe a stochastic, some things that we're all pretty familiar with. So here we have, again by way of review, every time we've seen a stochastic positive divergence event happen over the last 5 years. And we've had a few in recent days. And basically what it's telling us now is that this is what we should expect from that euro dollar based on that event. So if stochastics, a positive divergence is something you look for and it's something that you feel is important to the way you trade, it's something you use in your charting, well then you can go ahead and utilize the forecaster to confirm the direction that things are going and get a good forward look at what's coming up over the next 30 days in this case. And you do have the option of going from 30 to 90 to 180 days. So what this forecast is telling us is today, where price is right here for the euro dollar, it has a very bearish curve to it, does it not? In fact, there's much more of this red color than there is above that zero line. So we have a likely bearish move continuing in this direction to where it kind of comes at this negative 1% at about 14 days. After that, it's not as sure, because in the past, after these have happened, it's kind of gone all over the place after about 20 days. But this is where prices have normally gone. This is the most frequent range. We have a roughly 80% chance that prices, 80% likelihood that prices will return to those ranges. Well, let's do a test on it. Let's go ahead and take a look in the past and see what we get. Let's see what happens here. We've got Wednesday, September the 3rd. We have September the 23rd. We can click on any one of these. Let's go ahead and click on the 23rd. And we can see that this is the cloud we would have seen on that day. It generally kind of undershot, but look at how it stays pretty well within the zone. Now, if anyone's trading contracts, expiring contracts, I'm thinking you're starting to see some major value in this type of analysis. In fact, when we first released the Forecaster, the people who got the most excited were our options and futures traders. They immediately resonated with the idea of some of the forecast cones and things like that, concepts that try to predict and forecast out high probability moves. And the Forecaster does this in such a clear and dynamic way that it's been a very, very helpful tool to MetaStock users. It's only available in MetaStock, so we hope you'll try out the program. We hope you'll give it a chance to fiddle around with it and see what it can do with your particular type of trading. Let's see if I can get to some questions. I know that there are some. Okay, so Jeff's been handling those questions. We are pretty low on time, but I want to make sure that everyone feels comfortable with this. Certainly give it a try. Reach out to us and let us know how we can assist you with it. And it's just another, I think, good example of how MetaStock is trying to push the envelope and continue to bring to you new utilities and new tools that can help you in your trading. And I hope what you found here today can be useful to you. I certainly hope you'll give it a try. And with that, I think I'll turn the time back over to Jeff, and we'll prep the stage here for Barry Burns.
Okay, thanks Dave Osmond. I hope that's exciting for you guys. We do have a few extra minutes, so let's kind of go back and we'll talk a little bit about the pricing for MetaStock and that kind of stuff. I wanted to kind of hurry, but let me go through some of the links that have kind of been given out. If you want to download the Haguro link, you can go to metastock.com/Haguro. And I've just tested that. If you click on the link, it should give you that and not Tony Turner's stuff. So a couple of the other things, a lot of people are asking about is how much does MetaStock cost? And so we have two versions of MetaStock. I'll go through that in a little bit of detail for you. We have a MetaStock we used to call it end of day. I don't call it that anymore because I feel like it's improperly named, because we actually do hourly update bars with it now. So you can look at daily charts and you can kind of see what's happening during the day, and anytime you go during the market you're going to get at least up to the last hour of market activity depending on kind of when you log in. The price for that's only $59 a month. And I've been saying to everybody, don't do the trial, do the extended trial, because if you buy a month, you're going to get 3 months for free. And in addition to that 3 months for free, you're also going to get 5 months to Stocks and Commodities magazine. But 3 months for free, let's see, it's November 8th today, so you'd be running till December, January, February 8th, all the way through the holidays, all the way through almost Valentine's Day at this time, which is crazy to kind of think about. But for $20 a month, you're really going to be able to play with the tool and under the Forecaster and the testing and the scanning and really understand if it's going to be helpful for you in your trading. And you're only out like $59 if you don't like it. I mean, it's a really good way to try it. Our real-time version of MetaStock includes a product called Zenith, which is fantastic. It's a product that Reuters actually spent $1 billion on. And they charge a lot more for it than we do, but it gives you, if you're interested in news or fundamentals or research or anything along those lines, you're going to love Zenith because it's really the only place you can really get a fully institutional platform for as cheap as we charge for it. You know, it's $250 a month with MetaStock as well. And if you went to Reuters to buy that, you'd be paying a lot more for it. So that subscription price is $250. Again, if you buy, it includes the data. It doesn't include real-time exchange fees, which we can talk to you a little bit about what you're trading and kind of get you the totals. But if you buy a month of that, you're going to get 3 as well. So again, you'll be running it to almost Valentine's Day. It's really a great way to try the program, which is an extensive product. You know, I'm still learning things about the product. The thing I love about MetaStock, most of all, is it's a product that you pay for. It's a very reasonably priced product. And the more you grow as a trader, the more you kind of go to lessons or learn from the experts that we featured today or read stocks and commodities, the better it's going to work for you. And there's so many products that, you know, they sell for $3,000 or $4,000 that are really, when you boil them down, a couple moving average products that just kind of give you signals based on one method. And so you should